Now this morning we will be graced by our dear and only Julie Coyne with her homily. Julie.
Good morning, everyone. For those of you who might be new to my ministry, allow me to introduce you. Education and Hope is a grassroots nonprofit in the Western Highlands of Guatemala, founded in 1998. I left for the city of Quetzaltenango in '94 to study Spanish in an immersion program that did community service work in the rural areas surrounding the city. Working on these projects opened the door to a much deeper experience than I would have had just visiting the country as a tourist. 20 minutes on the bus outside of the city, and you were surrounded by crumbling adobe houses tucked inside cornfields. These humble homes had dirt floors and barefoot children. A single bare light bulb would hang down in the dark, windowless rooms. Chickens would often scurry around beneath our feet inside the home. As students, we made cement outhouses for families who had no indoor plumbing. We cut bricks with machetes to make wood-burning stoves for families who cooked over open fires on the floor. In a community hot lunch program, we fed simple meals to children who didn't get enough to eat at home. The poverty was jarring, but the families we worked with were kind and welcoming. I'd never traveled outside the country, but I felt at home here. Much was unfamiliar, but one issue felt impossible for me to comprehend: the high number of children I encountered who didn't attend school. Even though education was theoretically free, it remained out of reach for the majority of children. How would these kids ever have the chance to break the cycle of poverty without the opportunity to learn and grow in school? Education and Hope was born from a single seed. My response to this injustice. My simple wish was to provide a few children I had grown to know and love with access to a better education. With the first substantial donation, I was able to offer a dozen scholarships. However, when this crew received disastrous first quarter grades, it became clear to me that scholarships were only one piece of the puzzle. A child who is hungry, ill, or malnourished will not be able to pay attention in school. A child with illiterate parents may not have anyone to help with homework. Among other things, kids need a good pair of shoes, a backpack, a clean, well-lighted workspace. So I invited all 12 students to my house every day after school. I made scrambled eggs for lunch, and we sat around on small tables to do homework together. Without realizing it, the after-school program was born. Flash forward to 2021, and Education and Hope is now in our 23rd year. Our program offers scholarships for close to 200 children and young adults annually, ranging from pre-K through university. Our after-school enrichment center meets the needs of 100 children daily, providing tutoring in small groups, 2 hot, nutritious meals, hot showers, medical attention, psychosocial outreach, and most importantly, love. We provide stable and dignified employment for 50 people. More than half of our staff are former scholarship recipients who grew up in our program. Among our cooks and housekeepers, most are mothers and grandmothers and sole income earners in their household. These women have all had the opportunity to achieve basic literacy within our program, some learning to read and write for the very first time in their 50s and 60s. Although we provide a variety of services for the people we serve, the essence of who we are is found in community. Our approach is holistic, focusing on the needs of the whole child. We empower through kindness and compassion and work to foster a sense of worthiness and belonging. Our buildings are a refuge, a place where you can set down your burdens, even if just for the afternoon. The element of bearing witness is integral. My goal is for each person to feel seen and heard and loved. Our families face an endless stream of challenges, and while we know we may not always be able to impact each situation, we can walk with them, alongside them, reminding them that they are not alone. Being with, not doing for, has long been the mantra that guides my vision. With so much of the beauty of our work being hands-on, it's not hard for you to imagine that the pandemic has brought radical change to education and hope. Our in-person services have been suspended since March of 2020, and our outreach is happening only on a remote basis. Things are bleak right now in Guatemala. An economic crisis has caused a national spike in malnutrition. Waves of young people all over Guatemala are dropping out of school to work and support their families. We are witnessing the harsh truth that those who bear the greatest burden are those who have always had the least. With virus transmission still high in Guatemala and no national plan for vaccines, we'll be obliged to continue with remote learning at least for the rest of 2021. And our staff has been laboring to reevaluate student needs and figure out the best way to continue supporting our families. Because presence is at the heart of our work, an enormous challenge is trying to reimagine connection in a time of physical distance. Mothers arrive once a month to receive nutritional support through our increased food pantry, but these brief meetings don't offer sufficient space to channel diversity of needs that our families are living with each day. So to further open avenues of communication, I set up a new system of direct outreach between families and the core members of our administrative team. During weekly check-ins, families will have the time to share ongoing struggles, and staff will have the opportunity to assess shifting needs. I was thrilled when Wilson asked if it would be okay to make home visits instead of phone calls. It takes a lot of effort to travel to the rural areas where our family live, and I was inspired that many on our team hope to fulfill their outreach in person. All of our admin team were once scholarship recipients. They're familiar with the challenges that our family face. Still, these regular home visits have given our staff the opportunity to take in a more comprehensive view of each family's life and document new hardships that have arisen in the pandemic. Across the world, students have struggled to adapt to changes in education. But remote learning is infinitely more complicated if your family does not have the appropriate technology. Many missing elements prevent our students from participating fully in a virtual education system. Infrastructure is sorely underdeveloped in the rural communities where our families live. Most don't have access to broadband, and some still lack reliable access to electricity. Zoom classes often take place on tiny phone screens, since very few of our students have computers at home. All of them used to rely on our computer lab at the Education and Hope After School Center. As the pandemic drags on, we realize that in order for our outreach to be more effective, we'll have to find a way to outfit our students with laptops. This month, we began with a small purchase for the 25 students who had the greatest need. Lorena, Enma, Fernando, and Wilson asked my permission to personally deliver the computers. I don't think they could have dreamed of the emotion they'd encounter. Lorena told me they showed up to each home unannounced. Upon arrival, they'd shout, "Buenas tardes, venimos de parte de Julia." "Hello, Julie sent us." At one of the first homes, they encountered 16-year-old Christian, who bubbled with happiness just to have surprise visitors after so much time in isolation. When he finally grasped that the reason for their visit was to gift him with his very own laptop, he broke down sobbing. Over and over, he repeated, "I will never be able to repay everything you have done for me." Margarita, a mother of 5, lives on the outskirts of Llano de Pinal. With 2 boys in high school, she told our staff that she had been praying every day to God for a computer so that her children would be able to do their schoolwork properly. Through tears, she said that this generous gift confirmed for her the existence of angels in her life. I am deeply humbled by these encounters, by the desperation they expose, and the palpable relief on display. Being the bridge that connects people to the goods and services they need means you are continually aware of how many people in this world live so close to the edge. But the most unexpected gift has been witnessing the transformation of my staff. After these visits, they each wrote me letters brimming with enthusiasm. All of them were fired up, absolutely filled with the spirit of connection and hope, empowered to have been part of opening these channels of agency for our students. This grand gesture knocked the recipients off their feet, but it did the same for our staff. They got to be part of letting people know, you matter this much to us. Delivering that message left them giddy with emotion. They were both grateful and proud to be part of what Education and Hope makes possible. Each one of them affirmed to me their deepening commitment to the work that we do together. Enma told me, I feel as though I have been chosen. My life is forever changed by these ways I have been loved and supported and guided by you. It is my honor to continue this work in your footsteps. I had a video call with the 4 of them on Friday, and it was my turn to become emotional. I thank them for bringing Pentecost to life for me. I cried as I explained that I saw within each of them the same passionate energy of the disciples. The great fire in their hearts could not be contained, and they went out into the world to share that love. Their lives had been transformed by a great love, and they wanted for others to experience the same. Their compassionate concern for these families sent them out into the community to meet them where they were. They were spreading the good news that we are loved beyond measure. And they preached this gospel with actions, not words. Their tongues were on fire because they were communicating in God's language, the universal language of love. It has always perplexed me to hear people talk about the kingdom of heaven being something they aspire to reach someday in the afterlife. My life's work in Guatemala has helped me to learn. My life's work in Guatemala has helped me to lean in to the knowing that the kingdom of heaven is something we actively create in each moment. We create the kingdom of heaven each time we commit to the radical act of loving our neighbor. Each time we withhold judgment. Each time we choose to forgive. In each moment, we show mercy and understanding. Each time we lean with compassion into the places where love has yet to reach within our own hearts or in the hearts of those around us, we create the kingdom of heaven by affirming that our kinship extends far beyond bloodlines, dissolving the perceived differences that would separate us by honoring the truth that we are all connected, by remembering that we belong to one another. Education and Hope isn't a religious organization, and yet so much of our work indicates the presence of God, the sustaining strength of community, connection, and belonging, the intention to truly see people as God would see them in their perfect imperfection. We attempt to meet darkness with hope. We help each other to discover our light and embrace our worth. My own life has been forever changed by the redemptive, transformative, unconditional love that is the life force of our efforts. I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to share a tiny sliver of this love made possible by our collective efforts. I want to express my profound gratitude to so many in the Grange community who have generously shared time and resources to sustain our important work. You have responded to this gospel call to action, reaching out in support of neighbors you have never met. Community to community and heart to heart, together we are bridging the gaps between us with love. Loving our neighbors, caring for the vulnerable and the displaced is the way we bring our love for God to life. You are helping to create the kingdom of heaven here on earth. In closing, I'd like to offer this prayer by Padre Gotuma as a blessing on us all as we each turn toward the sacred work of fire and love that we are continually called to in this world. Jesus, you praised work more than words, foundations more than fashion. May we find our foundation in the work of love, demanding, tiring, true, and human and holy. Because love is the only foundation worth building on. Amen.
Thank you so much, Julie, for that touching homily that brought the Holy Spirit into the now for all of us. And let us all now reflect on the scripture readings and on what Julie said in her homily. And we ask any of you who would like to share your insights.
You can click the unmute button if you'd like to speak, or raise hand, or wave your hand. Phil.
That's the best homily I have ever heard.
Thank you, Phil. I'm very humbled. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Your loving presence has always inspired me, so thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Michael.
Thomas or Michaelia.
Julia, I just want to thank you very much for your sharing. It was very beautiful. Very, very meaningful. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Bill? I'm not sure who is that, Monica or Jenny?
I think it's going to be all of us, but we just want to thank you for a wonderful Pentecost sermon and spreading your light to everyone here. We're sitting here in Berea, Kentucky on our couch. We just got the invitation, I think, yesterday from Julie, and she invited us to hear her and meet all of you. And this is Jenny and Lucio, who came from a program and now are part of our family, and the spirit just continues to flow and keep flowing, and I'm just amazed at how things have opened up for them and us too, Julie, the way it has for you. So anyone want to say hola? Hola.
Thank you, folks.
Jenny and Lucio was our first university student in the United States. He was the first to be granted a scholarship or entrance to Berea College in Kentucky, thanks to the generous support of Bill and Monica Laramie. And he has now graduated, and Jenny, who some of you have met in Connecticut, is following in his footsteps. She just on Friday finished her second year of college. She's pre-med in studying science and math in a language that's not her own, that she only recently started learning, and is taking classes that I probably would struggle with in English as a native speaker. And yet there she is.
Jane.
You are truly an angel amongst us, Julie. Thank you so much for that presentation.
Jane, and then Eleanor, you wanted to raise your hand?
So I just wanted to say that I was with Julie a long time ago at the beginning of this project and have been down to visit it a number of times. And I really think this is the Holy Spirit working. The fact that she then found our community and has been able to share with our community her work over the years has been such a gift to us. So thanks, Julie.
Is it Eleanor, Ann, or Bill that would like to speak? You're muted. You'll have to unmute, Ann. I think it's probably you that wants to speak.
Yeah, I couldn't, it's so bright out here, I couldn't see the button. Julie, brava, unbelievable. I was so fortunate to travel to Guatemala with Jane and Julie and other wonderful people 2 years ago. And if you could imagine at 1 o'clock in a bright sunny day, having 100 children lined up against a line of buildings, concrete buildings, and the tiniest sidewalk with little green things growing up, just waiting for their turn to hug this magnificent saint at the bottom of the hill and outside of the place where we ate, the huge, warm, loving kitchen and dining area. And Julie approaches every child according to their need. These children, many of them have been badly traumatized. Many of them have been ill or hungry. Some of them jump into her arms and she knows they're going to. Others are more reticent simply because they have the personality or the experiences where touching is not as comfortable. And Julie seems to respect and understand intuitively the need of every single child and approaches them for them and who they are. It is remarkable. And I would just say, having been to the after-school program that looks like the fanciest, most modern school in the United States inside, so organized by class, by books, by materials, students happily involved in their work with their teacher, only maybe 6 to 7 to a room, so they're getting individual attention. But then there is the afternoon meeting where after another nurturing meal before they go home, Julie stands up and she does a Vipassana meditation with them. These children have learned to do meditation. Once a week, they have a Zumba class in this wonderfully decorated and illustrated with childhood book characters. They have a Zumba group. And once a week, the grandmothers and mothers who cook every day for these children for 2 or 3 hours before they come, they have a Zumba class. And what I came away with was not only what Julie just described so eloquently, but the holistic aspect of body, mind, and spirit that is inculcated into these children and these families every single day by every word and every deed and every opportunity that's afforded to them. And I don't know why this is not the model for nonprofits. People may say it's non-profitable, but if you really costed it out and you saw the number of children being educated and then what they're doing in the world, I think that people would find that it was probably the most cost-effective approach you could possibly have. And Bill just mentioned that we're just waiting for Julie to be canonized.
No, I was going to say that Julie needs three things. She needs to be congratulated, cloned, and canonized.
The 3 C's. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann and Bill.
Laura.
Julie, I've always been so inspired by your work, and your homily today was just absolutely beautiful. And what struck me was the power of just one person to influence so many people, and your spirit, the impact that's had on the 4 people that you talked about that are just so full of passion and compassion and commitment to carry on your work. And it's just such a beautiful story to hear. So thanks for sharing that with us.
Thank you, Laura. I actually, I had sat down to write a week ago, and I have a notebook filled with things that that came to mind that I wanted to share today. And that was one of them, this power of we become overwhelmed. The need of the world is so great. And I have struggled this past year. I have felt a despair greater than I've ever felt before. The US is usually the place where I come to seek refuge. And last year I got home in the last week of February and the pandemic began, and everything, the veil was lifted. Nothing was hidden from us as far as suffering. And it's hard to know where to start. But I think when we recognize that we have a spark within us that can ignite the sparks in others, if we choose to light that fire, that's how it spreads. So thank you.
Dick Morris.
Hi, Julie. Good to see you again. I think we met on a plane going to Guatemala, actually. And I didn't know you were in the Grange then. And I don't think you knew that I was either. I want to share a personal anecdote that is sobering but important. As I guess you know, I'm a political advisor, and I work around the world on campaigns. And I ran a campaign in Guatemala for Morales, the guy who just left as president, who seemed like a really good guy. He seemed like he was going to really change Guatemala. He seemed honest. He just seemed fabulous. And I often thought that this was my, in effect, answer to what Julie's doing, which is to work at a political level, at a national level, for the same effort she's doing at an individual level. Then he turned out to be a total thief, a total crook, a really bad guy. And I had no idea that that was the case. And it was really tragic. And it really gave me a sense of that God never makes a mistake when he leads me to help an organization like yours, Julie, but often when he leads me to support some miscreant running for office who seemed fabulous to me. And I just wanted to share that with you.
Yeah, thank you, Dick. I do remember our meeting on the airplane, and I remember how awkward I felt having been upgraded to first class, and you said, well, you wouldn't have met me back in coach. So, I unfortunately, there is so much corruption rampant in Guatemala, and especially in the political system. And again, with the despair, it's hard to know how things will ever change. But I do know that that change needs to come from within Guatemalans. And until every citizen has access to an education, access to proper nutrition and good housing and clean water, those changes will never happen. And I know that I'm a part of it. It's not being, I'm empowering the people. The change will happen through the people though. And when there are enough of them to have a voice in the crazy political scheme that we see down there. You know, every time there were back-to-back hurricanes, natural disasters last year, tons of people were displaced, you know, thousands. And people kept saying, oh, should we send money to the government to help the people? And I said, no, that's the government is not helping the people. You have to find people on the ground.
Government is a natural disaster.
Yes, the government is also a natural disaster. So yes, so when we see this situation of the crisis of immigration, know that there's so much going on behind the scenes, root causes that were never shown. So
would you share with us how we can donate? I've lost the link.
Absolutely.
We'll put something together in an email after liturgy.
Okay.
Maureen?
I just want to say that you have always inspired me. There are angels walking on earth, and you are one of them. And truly, I've always believed too that the only way that anything will change is through the grassroots, and that's one of the things that has always impressed me about the Grange, that people go in at grassroots level. So thank you.
So I'm curious, in the room where there's Bill, Monica, Jenny, and Lucidio, if from people who have been in the program, and you know, what is your perspective of how has this unfolded for you? If there's anything that you might like to share with that, and then Kathleen.
Maybe it would be good if Lucio or Jenny came up closer to the screen so we can see their faces.
Yeah.
There's so little tiny dots in the background there.
And you'll need to unmute the microphone too. Still muted. Hi, you'll need to click the unmute button, please.
Sorry, I didn't see that one. All right. Hello, everybody. So I'm Lucio. I've been here for about 7 years in the US, but I was part of Education and Hope, and I still feel like I'm part of it. And so I started there when I was around 7 to 8. So I was like I can't even remember, but I was 7 years old. And then, so one of the experiences that I remember all the time is that going to Education and Hope is that I had a family there, because my mom worked from 6 to 6 from Monday to Sunday. So probably nobody was at home, you know, all the time. So I had to take care of my brothers and my sister. And yeah, and then going to Education and Hope was kind of like the place where I could be, you know, not worrying about anything besides myself and, you know, my studies. And as I grew up, so I was meeting more people in my situation, and I got to know that I was not alone, you know, like when you feel like you're alone, it's like everything feels even worse than it is. But thanks to Julie, I had access to education. But beyond that, love, you know, like as she always says, the love that is, that many students there, that's what they experience. Because in my case, I didn't have a stable home. My mom worked. So I mean, when somebody gives me a hug, it's like, man, I don't feel like really comfortable. But once I got there, it's like, yeah, that's the common theme, you know. And so, and then knowing that I will have a warm meal, you know, every time that I go there, I'm hungry, but then I know that I'm gonna go to education and hope I have a meal, which is really nice. And I think the women that cook, because they spend a lot of time not only cooking but planning for it, so which is amazing. The process is, yeah, it's interesting. And then when I was told if I wanted to come to the US to study, I was like, sure, why not? But I didn't know that that implied I had to work even harder to learn the language. And then afterwards, coming here and speaking the language, writing, reading, the first 2 weeks was like, man, I have a headache. But afterwards, you get used to it. I mean, probably I had to work a little bit harder than the rest, but it was worth it because now I have a college degree and I'm working, and yeah, I mean, my life has changed, but also the life of my family because I can help them from here. And yeah, it's just a cycle, I think, where if somebody gets out of the poverty cycle, then you can help somebody else and so forth. So I feel blessed, and it's thanks to Julie, Education and Hope, and everybody who donates every year. Or so it's amazing. I feel blessed, and I think that somebody said before, yeah, the people who donate, Julie, they are the angels that are taking care of people who can't or can afford to go to school. And yeah, Bill and Monica here, they are like my second family. And other people that I know that are connected to Education and Hope, I'm thankful to them every day, because thanks to them I'm here, and thanks to them I have I have more opportunities that I have never like dreamed of in the past. So it's just amazing what one person can do for a lot of people. So thank you, Julie, and thank you everybody who is connected to Education and Hope in some way or another.
Gracias, Lucio.
Thank you,
Thank
Lucio.
you so much.
Thank you.
Kathleen, unmute, please.
Julie, I will be adding to what everybody else has said. I'm sitting here and the tears are ready to flow of wonder, I think, at the way that, in a sense, you have been one of those tongues of fire that's danced on the heads of the community of the Grange, for sure, through which we've come to know you gratefully. And the word that is coming to me as I just rejoice that I've had this little interval of being able to look at you. That's been the grace of the moment for me today, this transmission of your goodness and the transmission of your fidelity that we are able to witness in season and out of season. And it's been a challenge for you, as we know, all these years. You've given birth to a family, and you are, through the lens of my CND eyes, you're a founder. You're a founder of a mission and a community in the ways that these new foundations and communities, please God, will continue to arise. But the word that stays with me in your reflection and in your witness is the word hope. I have to be with you, and with this disclosure that you offer us today, even longer and deeper, because the wonder of bringing hope to such a challenging and intractable world of poverty and of inequality and of so much violence, as we know in Guatemala. I feel that the gift of the Spirit that you are conveying or bestowing on me is the receptivity to the miracle of hope, to the possibility of hope that you manifest and you witness. And I just want to endorse Bill's prayer that we could clone you. And what was the other one, Bill? I know the last one is canonized, but you are canonized in our midst, and you don't need us to do that. That's been bestowed, and you invite us to risk doing what you have done, which is to love at this kind of depth and intensity and without measure with your life, and just see what happens. So thank you for letting us witness what has happened.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Dear Kathleen. Thank you. I think Jenny wants to add one word.
Jenny, you'll need to unmute your microphone.
First, I want to say thank you to all of you, because you also are part of the education family. And I met Julie when I was 5 years old, and I have a big family, and I grew up with my grandma. She was the one who take care of us. We were like 8 grandchildren. We were like 8, and I was the oldest one in the house. But since the first day I met Julie, everything changed for me, because first I had an education, and also I had a chance to learn many things. And now that I am remember, like the first time I got to educational hub, it was the first time I saw like so many food in my plate. I was very like surprised because of that, because when I was with my grandma, we used to get like breakfast, maybe one tortilla with coffee, and it was the breakfast. And for lunch, maybe tortillas with something. But being there, like everything started changing, because we start like having so much food in our plate, and after a snack that it was like dinner. And another thing that made a change in my life was to learn how to love. And it has been like a big impact in my life, but also in the life of my family. The first time that I saw Julie, she hugged me, and she gave me like a big hug, and I could like feel the love. And after that, I just started like getting used to that love. But I have seen that change in my family. Before I came, my grandma told me, I love you. And it was the first time she said it. Before that, my whole family told me, I love you. And we are so proud of you. And it was the first time my family told me all of that. But it was because of Julie, because Julie has teaching my whole family how to love and how to create that connection of love. And so I don't know who said that, but Julie is not just giving education, she's giving love, and she's giving that hope of being loved, the hope of being transformed, the hope of having like better chances. And it's not like, I'm sorry, and it's not like the hope for, I just I'm sorry, I'm very emotional now, but the only thing that I want to say is thank you. Thank you, Julie, because you give me the chance to have a higher education. I never imagined myself to be here with a family, because Bill and Monica have become the family that I chose also, the family who is taking care of me also. And I'm so grateful for that. And I think that I have a big family because I have you also. I haven't met all of you, but you are part of my family also. And thank you for transforming the life of so many kids in Guatemala, for giving hope, for helping Julie, because she is the mother that God gave me also. And you are the angels who is helping Julie to achieve a big goal. And that big goal is transform a big community. Thank you so much.
Could I speak at this point for Jenny's grandmother, whom is a couple of years older than I? I met her when she and Tim were the same age, 75 years old, and her daughter had left for the United States to send money back home to improve their lives, but left Doña Diego with 8 grandchildren to take care of. So when I met her at age 75, she was taking care of 8 grandchildren. And I just was overwhelmed by the thought of that. Jenny is the oldest of these 8, and the fact that she has gone on, graduated from high school and is now in college, it's so unbelievably joyous for Doña Diego to know that her family has had this opportunity. So as one of the grandmothers among all of us here, I want you to know that it's not just the kids, it's the grandmothers who have benefited from this program as well.
Thanks, Jane. You know, I think we could probably go on all day. It's a lot to take in, you know, and to understand, you know, all of the people that have been involved in this. I love hearing about the lunch ladies and the care that they took preparing things. And, you know, it's a big, big effort from a lot of people and a lot of inspiration here. But I think we probably should continue our liturgy for now. And I'm sure Jane will send out a note of how to connect, how folks can help to keep moving that ball forward. So thank you so much for everything. Eddie, do you want to continue?
I'd just like to just briefly say thank you to all of you for blessing me.
Oops, sorry, I clicked the wrong button.
I just want to say thank you to you all for blessing me in this way. You fill up my cup, and that allows me to share it with others. Thank you for these gifts. Gracias, mija. Gracias, mijo. Thank you, everyone.
And I give one more thank you to you, Julie. The church asks us now to pray for all of the other people, our sisters and brothers on this planet who are suffering so much. The first prayer will be by Michael Hauk. Michael.
For everyone who needs to hear this prayer again by Thomas Merton. My Lord God, I have no idea where I am going. I do not see the road ahead of me. I cannot know for certain where it will end, nor do I really know myself. And the fact that I think I am following your will does not mean that I am actually doing so. But I believe that the desire to please you does in fact please you. And I hope I have that desire in all that I am doing. I hope that I will never do anything apart from that desire. And I know that if I do this, you will lead me by the right road. Though I may know nothing about you, about it, therefore will I trust you always, though I may seem to be lost and in the shadow of death. I will not fear, for you are ever with me. And you will never leave me to face my perils alone. With fire for the greatest of breeds, may all cultivate that which is the Holy Spirit, unique to all of us, of all faiths, so that we become the embrace of each other's love and peace. Hear our prayer.
Our prayer. The second prayer will be by Maureen Shanley. Maureen.
We ask for prayers for our civil authorities, government leaders, teachers, doctors, social workers, and first responders. Please help us to lessen the political divide that we are experiencing because this is affecting every part of our lives. Help us to listen more and criticize less. Help us to be part of the solution, an agent of change, not be another hurdle that blocks discussion.